Right. So as of now, we have covered verse 8 till, chapter 8, verse 8. So we'll continue from there today. Let's chant the prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Desadharini Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome you all once again. So just a quick revision of what we have discussed as of now in chapter 8. So chapter 7 ends with Krishna introducing new terms, and in chapter 8 starts with Arjuna asking this question that, okay, what are these? So he asks about what is Brahman, what is Adhyatma, what is Karma, Adhibhuta, Adhidevya, and Adhiyagya, and who is actually, and how he lives in this body. And then he says, Prana Kali, how can your devotees remember Krishna? And then Krishna answers this 7 things very quickly in 2 verses, saying that Brahman is the spirit soul, then Adhyatma is the nature, Swabhav, and then Karma is the activities which binds us from one body to another body. And then Adhibhuta, Krishna says, that is constantly changing material manifestation of this mortal body. And then Adhidevya, Krishna says, this universal form of the Lord is Adhidevya, where all the Devatas, they rest, and this is Virata Rupa of Krishna himself. And then Adhiyagya, Krishna says that he is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, and he lives in the heart of every living being. And after that, this whole chapter goes again, continuing with this last question, Prana Kali, how to remember Krishna at the time of death, and how can we remember Krishna at the time of death? Right. So then Krishna speaks about this is only possible when we remember Krishna throughout life. Krishna says, anyone who remembers me, he comes to my abode. So, however, we understand Prabhupada says in purport that remembrance of Krishna is very, very difficult. In fact, not possible. Prabhupada says it's not possible for unpure soul. So we need to purify ourselves. And how do we purify? By practicing Krishna consciousness, by chanting Krishna's holy name, by reading scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and associating with the devotee, taking Krishna Prasadam, and performing devotional services, we can purify ourselves, right? And then Krishna says about that if anyone thinks other thing about apart from Krishna, they attend that, and if someone thinks about me, he comes to my abode, right? And Krishna says that to Arjuna that perform your duty, fight this work, and still you remember me, right? That was the, I think, and after that Krishna says practice with undivided mind, right? So let me share my screen and then we'll continue from verse 9. Okay, where it is. That's it. So chapter 8 verse. Can you see my screen? Hopefully, yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so the last verse we discuss is he who meditates on me as Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undivided from the path, he, O Partha, sure to reach me. So this is a way to reach Krishna. And other process Krishna says and earlier, Yam Yamapi Bhavam, Tevate Kalevaram. So the one who thinks of other things, he goes over there as well. That in 6th verse, 6th one. Yes. So Krishna says, whatever state of one remembers when he quits his body, he attains that without fail. Right. Now the question comes is, as Krishna says, practice this, or how who meditates on me as Supreme Lord, and his mind constantly engage in remembering me. So the point is, again, we need to control our mind, engage ourselves in remembering Krishna. We took a small example last time, like how if we live our life in other way, it's very difficult to remember Krishna at the time of death. So, but if we remember Krishna every time throughout our day and our activities, we can remember Krishna at the time of death as well. It's very simple, right? So just example, just imagine, as we're discussing, some people say that, okay, when I get old, Krishna says, if you remember me, you come to my, I'll remember him. But that's not possible. It might be very, very difficult. And Prabhupada says it's not possible for unpure soul to remember Krishna. And just imagine, if you cut down your hand, the finger, not hand, maybe just finger, while cutting vegetables, we ask for some medications, and we says ouch, ouch over there, but we don't say Krishna. And so how to remember Krishna? Well, we're actually giving up this body, right? And we took an example of Kailash and Narada Muni discussion, how Narada Muni, the Kailasha was too much attached that he took another birth, one after other, from man to he came to older grandfather, and then he became a dog, and then snake, kind of things, right? So it's very difficult to give up this attachment unless and until we attach to something higher, to us Krishna. See 9. So from 9 onwards till 13 is another section where Krishna is going to explain about how to remember Krishna. This is also called as Yoga Mishra Bhakti. So let's see. Text 9, chapter 8. Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram Anyor Aniyamsam Anusmaredya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintarupam Aditya Varnam Tamasha Prasastat. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as one who knows everything, as he is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, and who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all mental conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like sun. He is transcendental beyond this mental nature. How to remember Krishna? If you remember, in chapter 7, Krishna says that so I'm the taste of water, I'm the light and light of sun and moon, I am the strength in the man, I'm the heat in the fire, and everything, isn't it? In that way, now Krishna is putting again another thing. How to meditate on him? Krishna says, Kavim Puranam, one who knows everything, like Krishna is the oldest. So oldest isn't mean Krishna has become old, like now he's in his 90s or 20, hundreds. He's just old man, like that. Like, so old means he's a Purana. He's the oldest one, but still he's always ever fresh. Now it's the Brahma Samhita says he's Nava Yovanam. He's always from his age is always from 16 to 18, as young as ever fresh. Right. So one should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything. So Krishna knows everything. We discussed earlier, Krishna says that I know the past, I know the present, and the future. Not of only one person, he knows about each living entity. Not of just only one universe, about all unlimited universes. So in unlimited universes, unlimited living entities, and Krishna knows about every living entity, is the past, the present, and the future. That's how Krishna knows everything. He's completely his Swarat as well. He's independent too, right? And he is cognizant as well. Then he says, he who is the oldest, Krishna is the Puranas, is the oldest of everything. So there is no, Lord Brahma says, Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Adir Govinda Sarva Karana. So there is no cause for Krishna, but cause of everything is Krishna, right? And then he says, who is a controller. So Supreme Lord, the one who made it, how to meditate, that one who knows everything, he one who is the oldest, he one is a complete controller, who is smaller than the smallest. So how is it happens? These are the kind of yogis, right? They get anima, nagima, all these things, 8 yogi mystics power. So the yogis, by meditating on Krishna, they get the power by which they can become small, they can become large, like the demons. Demons, they pray, they worship Krishna, and they get this the boons to become all these things, like small, big, and other things, right? The yogis also get it from there. So who can become smaller than smallest? Just imagine an elephant and an ant, right? If you see the size, there's a huge difference. However, Krishna resides in both as Paramatma, even in an ant, even in an elephant. So Krishna, who is smaller than the smallest, and he's reside in every atom as well. And then he says, who is the maintainer of everything? So Krishna is the maintainer of everything. We are all being maintained by Krishna himself, right? And who is beyond all mental conception. So we cannot understand Krishna by our mental speculation, mental thoughts. That's why he is inconceivable, right? And then who is always a person. He is a person. He is not a kind of impersonal. He is a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental, who is beyond his material nature, right? So let's see what Prabhupada says here. The process of thinking of the Supreme is mentioned in this verse. The foremost point is that he is not impersonal or void, because many times people, they translate things and they say that Krishna is impersonal, or the absolute truth is impersonal. Yes, it's impersonal in the way that there's a two more higher thing as well. It's not the end. Krishna's impersonal thought is not the end. It's actually the first level of understanding Krishna. And one cannot meditate on something impersonal or void. Simply, if Krishna is saying that one should meditate, and we cannot meditate on something void, we need something to meditate. I was hearing a lecture long back. I could not remember, it's maybe more years back. And then I think devotee was sharing that if I ask you not to remember elephant, close your eyes and just try not to remember elephant. You can't do it. Actually, in front of you, if you close eye, you'll see the elephant. So we can't meditate on something which is void or impersonal. And here Krishna says that the one who knows me, who should meditate upon whom? Some person. That's why Prabhupada says one cannot meditate on something impersonal or void. And then the devotee says, okay, if I say you now meditate on elephant, you can actually close your eyes and you can actually see a form of elephant. If you are good, in art, you can actually paint the elephant very nicely. If you're not good, even actually you can see that, okay, there are large, huge, legs and the tail and the huge body and trunk. At least you can imagine something. So if there's a person, you can imagine something. If there is nothing, how can you imagine anything? Right. So that's how can you meditate on anything. So that's how Prabhupada says that Krishna is a person, he is not impersonal. So that is very difficult to meditate on something void. And then he says the process of thinking of Krishna, however, is very easy and is factually stated herein. First of all, the Lord is Purusha, a person. We think of a person like Rama and the person Krishna, and whatever one thinks of Rama or of Krishna, what he is like is described in this verse of Bhagavad Gita. So Lord is Kavi, that is, he knows the past, present, and future. Right. Even Brahma is also known as Kavi because he creates everything as well. Right. Adi Kavi. And therefore Krishna knows everything. And then we discussed other points as well. He is the oldest. He's the oldest personality because he's the origin of everything. Right? Everything is born out of him. He's also the supreme controller of the universe. He's a maintainer and instructor of humanity. He's the smallest than the smallest. The living entity is 1,000th part of the tip of the hair. So there's a description of soul is given earlier, right? So that's how Krishna Hare Krishna. Sorry, I think I lost in between. Okay. Yes, so we are discussing about this point. Inconceivable. Prabhupada says which is very significant in this connection because God's energy is beyond our conception, beyond our thinking jurisdiction, and therefore he is called inconceivable or Ashintya. Right. So whatever we are seeing actually everything is Krishna's energy. That's why it's very difficult to understand Krishna's energy, and that's why he's Achintya. And again, Prabhupada gives another word. He says Achintya means that which is beyond this material world, that with our argument, logic, and philosophical speculation cannot touch. That is inconceivable as well. So we cannot imagine, we cannot calculate things. There is no kind of formula to calculate this, how Krishna is, who Krishna is, right? So that's how by our mental speculations, by our philosophical speculations, by our argument and by logic, we cannot understand Krishna. And Prabhupada nicely mentions here that therefore intelligent persons avoiding useless argument and speculation should accept what is stated in scriptures like the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, and follow the principles they set down. This will lead one to understanding, right? So there is no point of wasting our time in argumenting or trying to put some logical things and speculating to understand Krishna, rather than accept whatever is given in our scriptures, because this is already being spoken by Krishna himself, right? So that's here 9 different ways Krishna gives to remember that he is omniscient, he is origin of all, he's the controller, he is the smaller than smallest, he is the maintainer of everyone, he is inconceivable his form, and he is luminous like sun, right? And wherever there is sun, there is no darkness. So if we face towards sun, we can't see darkness, even our shadow, we can't see it, right? So what to speak of the darkness of this material world when we face ourselves toward Krishna. So let's see text 10. Text 10, Krishna explains some more things about remembering Krishna, like how can we meditate completely on Krishna, focusing on all senses, engaging in there. Prayana kale manasa chalena bhaktya yukta yoga balena chaiva bhuryor madhye pranam avesha samyak satam paramam purusham upayati divyam. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and by strength of the yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this again, one way of is called a Sata Chakra Yoga. So the 6 chakras being initiated over there by this proper meditation, right? And by that, the yogis, the kind of we discussed in chapter 6, these yogis, they meditate on Lord by half closing their eyes, right, and pointing to the tip of the nose, and they're remembering Krishna by engaging all the senses properly. So this is one of the ways as well. Here Prabhupada says that in this verse, it is clearly stated that at the time of death, the mind must be fixed in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life force between the eyebrows to the Ajna chakra. There are 6 chakras. I'm not very much expert in these chakras. The practice of Sat Chakra Yoga involving meditation of the 6 chakras is suggested here. However, Prabhupada says that a pure devotee does not practice such yoga, but because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness, at death he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his grace, which is coming ahead in chapter 4, text 14, right? So in the 6 chakras things, I remember I was hearing a lecture from His Holiness Bhakti Sant Maharaj, I think a long back, and he was saying that yes, this actually is by some yogas, some yogis, they completely meditate, completely focusing their mind and trying to activate those chakras. And he says that these chakras are there, and these chakras actually can produce a huge amount of energy. And if the person is not able to capable of handling those energy, the person might get mad, or his mind can be completely out of control. So it's not practical in this yoga especially. So because these chakras controlling that is becomes very 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 energetic, and they provide so much energy into that, and someone should be able to handle those energies. So he says it's not as advisable. And Prabhupada also is mentioning this purport that pure devotees or devotees of Lord do not practice this such yoga. And if you remember, the same thing happened in chapter 6 as well, when Krishna explains about the different process of yoga practice. And Arjuna says, "Oh Krishna, it's too difficult, or it's not practical for practicing this yoga system." Right. And then Krishna says, "Yogina api sarvesham mad gatinantar atmanam." So anyone who abides in me, who remembers me, that's the topmost yogis. So however, the point here is Krishna is giving all this understanding to us, so that in fact, if you want, we can actually compare those things by reading the explanation given by acharyas, which become difficult in this Kali Yuga and which becomes easier and simple. I think I was reading Bhagavatam today, or Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada says that Bhakti Yoga is very easy, very simple, very pure. Sorry, he says it's simple, pure, and easy to practice. The three what he used, right? So I think is what I was reading Bhagavatam, there it says, Prabhupada clearly mentions this point. Just a second, I think I have the note with me. Not here, in the other copy maybe. Yeah. So Prabhupada says the Bhakti Yoga is very simple, pure, and easy to practice. So in this Kali Yuga, what we want simple things, and by simply practicing Krishna consciousness, by chanting holy name, we can actually achieve the highest thing, right? And it's purify ourselves. It's simple. By living wherever we are, we can practice it, and it's easy, right? Though not that easy, we need to spend a good amount of good quality time with Krishna, but it's much better and much easier than going to Himalayas, giving up everything and meditating over Krishna. And yes, this last verse, this paragraph, Krishna Prabhupada says that the particular use of word yoga balena is significant in this verse, because without practice of yoga, whether Shat Chakra yoga or Bhakti yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death, right? So one cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. So if we practice regularly in our daily life, it will become easier for us to remember Krishna at the time of death. And Krishna now continues ahead how to practice it. Right. Text 11. Yadaksharam vedavido vadanti vishanti yatayo vitaragah yad yachanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena pravakshe. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkar, and who are great sages in the renounce or enter into Brahman, desiring such perfections, one practices celibacy, and I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. By one may attain salvation. What it says? So Lord Krishna has recommended to Arjuna the practice of Sat Chakra Yoga, in which one places the light air between the eyebrows. So that's practice Krishna is continuing again to how to meditate on him. So taking it for granted that Arjuna might not know how to practice Sat Chakra Yoga, Lord Krishna explained the process in the following verse. The Lord says that Brahman, although one without a second, has various manifestations and features, especially for the impersonalist. The Akshara or the Omkar, the syllable Om, is identical with Brahman. So Om is actually another form of Lord Krishna's vibration of Lord Krishna. And Krishna here explains that the impersonal Brahman into which the renounced order of sages enter. Right. So that's another way by chanting Om and practicing. But Prabhupada says that in this Kali Yuga, here in the last it says, let me read somewhat more. Prabhupada says that throughout the world, there are many institutions for different departments of knowledge, but there is no recognized institution where student can be educated in the brahmachari principle. That's again one point being mentioned by Krishna here of celibacy, right? Practicing celibacy. The Prabhupada says it's nowhere it being taught principle of celibacy, and unless one practices celibacy, advancement in spiritual life becomes very difficult. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya has announced, according to scriptural injunctions for this age of Kali, that in this age no process of realizing the Supreme is possible except the chanting of the holy name of Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Prabhupada again, I think here he mentions that in the Vedic system of knowledge, students from the very beginning are taught to vibrate Om and learn the ultimate impersonal Brahman by living the spiritual master in complete celibacy, by living with spiritual master. So they go to Gurukulas and they understand these things, right? So this is the process by which to meditate and go back. So that's 10 and 11. So how it says, give up attachment, follow celibacy, and then one will be able to attain liberation. And we all know it becomes very difficult. That's a Prabhupada emphasizing again and again about chanting the holy name in this Kali Yuga. And in 12 again, this continues again, that while meditating, how to control all the gates, because the soul gives this body, he goes out from this gates of this body. There are 9 holes in our body, and these are called Dwara, from where the soul passes away. Right. So here in text 12, Krishna is going to explain about more about how this prana vayu is being controlled. Sarva dwarani samyamya mano hridi niruddha cha murdhyante adhyatmano paramam pranam murdhyan adhyatmanah pranam asito yogadharanam. The yogic situated in that of detachment from all sensual engagement, closing all the doors of senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head, one establishes himself in yoga. So that's controlling the mind. And again, so the practice yoga such as just here, as I said here, one first has to close all the doors of sense enjoyment as well. And this practice is called pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. And then the sense organs acquiring knowledge of the eyes, nose, tongue, touch should be fully controlled and should not allow to engage in self-gratification. Right? That's basically we have discussed a bit more in chapter 6 as well. So Krishna is emphasizing again that these are yogic practices by which one can meditate on Krishna. However, Prabhupada mentions again that the best process is Krishna consciousness. If one is always able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service, it is very easy for him to remain in an undisturbed transcendental trance or in samadhi. So the process Krishna is mentioning here is about controlling the mind, controlling the senses, right? Following the celibacy, become detached and completely control the senses. How Prabhupada says that's correct, Krishna, because Krishna is going to clear it more in this chapter as well. How the devotee they can give up this life without practicing all these things as well. Right. So text 13, it talks about this destination of yogis. So this is the one part is completing here this Yoga Mishra Bhakti, where the yoga or the ultimate bhakti is actually they have the desire for liberations things, right? So they meditate on super soul completely, and then they give their life by controlling the sense objects, senses, and controlling the prana vayu in activating the sar chakra, and then from the head, the vayu or prana vayu goes away. And text 13, here it says about destination of the yogis, where they go. Om iti ekaksharam brahma व्याहरन् माम अनुस्मरन् यः प्रयाति तजन्देहं स याति परमां गतिम्. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of Supreme Personality of God and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planet. So the essence is, it's not just only vibrating the syllable, it's actually thinking the Supreme Lord as well. Even in chapter 6, Krishna says that the yogis, they must think of Krishna. Even you have seen the Bhagavatam as well. Even if you follow the other paths like Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, ultimately we have to come to the point of remembering Krishna or doing Bhakti to Krishna. Right. Let's see it here. In the purpose says that it is clearly stated here that Om, Brahma, and Krishna are non-different, because while remembering or chanting, syllabbling this secret level Om, person is remembering, have to remember Krishna. So Om, Brahma, and Krishna are non-different. The impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om itself. So by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra is clearly recommended for this age. And so if one quits his body at the end of life chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, he certainly reaches one of the spiritual planets according to the mode of his practices. So if you see, again and again in the chapter, Prabhupada is emphasizing on chanting Mahamantra, because this chapter is what? Chapter 8 is attaining the Supreme. How can we attain the Supreme? And Prabhupada is bringing back again and again in every purport that by chanting the holy name, one can actually attain the Lord, attain the Supreme, especially recommended in this Kali Yuga. So, and then there are different planets, like the devotee of Krishna enter the Krishna Loka, Golok Vrindavan, and for some personalist, they can go to the Vaikuntha planet in spiritual skies, and impersonalist, they remains in Brahma Jyotis, because they think that Brahma Jyoti is ultimate, so they remain there. However, the devotees, they think of higher than that, and they think of Golok Vrindavan, and as Prabhupada says, as according to the mode of practice, we go there. Like, the devotee of Lord Rama, they go to Saket Dham, where Lord Krishna is, Lord Rama is there, right? In this way. So Rama, Krishna, Narasimha, these are all the forms of Krishna. Some by our practicing, we get attached to some of the forms of the Lord. So these are all anyway the one Krishna itself, the Krishnas and Krishna expansions. Right? So from okay, I think from 14 is another section getting started. So okay, let's do this one, because this till 19 Krishna explains about everything, and in 14 Krishna says that it's very easy to obtain by bhakti. So today's discussion might be a bit difficult, like how to remember Krishna by controlling senses, and again taking away this life air, all those things. But 14 gives a relief to us, and Prabhupada actually in the purport, he has given relief to us earlier, that just by chanting holy name you can attain it. So let's see chapter 4, text 14, and we'll try to this finish today. Ananya cheta satatam yo mam smrati nityasaha tasyam sulabham partha nitya yuktasya yoginah. Krishna says, tasyam sulabha partha. I am become very easy for him to access, sulabha. Remember earlier when we began this chapter 8, text 3, or chapter 7, in fact, here Krishna says It's very difficult to know me. Manusyanam sasyasu kachinati siddhati. Yes, isn't it? And that word Krishna says it's very, very rare to know me as Tattvataha. And now Krishna is saying it becomes very easy for whom? Yo mam smrati nityasaha, the one who remembers me. So let's see. So for one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain. O son of Pratha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. So as Prabhupada was mentioning again and again in this purport, and even in one of the purport, Prabhupada mentioned that Krishna will explain that in text 14. Here it is. So Krishna says, I am very much easily available or easily obtainable by the devotee who remembers me without deviation by practicing engaging himself in devotional service. So engaging ourselves in chanting the holy name, reading Bhagavad Gita, associating with the devotees, right? That's taking Krishna Prasadam, important one, right? So by which we can remember Krishna. And Krishna has given different ways earlier, right? How to remember Krishna. Krishna says, I am omnipotent, I am the origin of all, I'm the controller of all, I'm the maintainer of everything. In chapter 7, Krishna says, I'm the taste of water, light of moon and sun, and I'm the strength and the fire and the heat of the fire and everything. So in that way, we can remember Krishna as well, right? So the easiest process for this yoga is engaging ourselves in devotional service. We are sure to remember Krishna, and without devotion, without any other motivation, and then Krishna is easily obtainable. That's Krishna's words, right? Tasyam sulabha partha. It's not durlabha, it's sulabha. It's very, very easily accessible. So this is a very nice and long purport Prabhupada has mentioned again, because here Prabhupada mentions a couple of points. He says this verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees. Earlier, Krishna told about this Mishra Bhakta, or who has some desires, other desires as well. However, here it is unalloyed, who is thinking of Krishna without deviation all the time, right? And that is Bhakti Yoga, right? So Prabhupada mentioned that earlier verses are actually describes about the Karma Yoga, the Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. However, the principle of these yoga system have some bhakti added, but this verse particularly mentions about pure bhakti yoga without any mixture of jnana, karma, and hatha, right? And then Prabhupada mentions some more point. Actually, we should read this purport as well. And then Prabhupada says that a pure devotee always engaged in devotional service to Krishna is one of his various personal features. So as Krishna has various plenary expansion incarnation such as Rama, Narsimha, and the devotee can choose fix his mind in loving service to any of these translated form. So like Prahlad Maharaj, he is very dear to Lord Narsimhadev. Lord Hanuman is very dear to Lord Rama, right? Arjuna is very dear to Krishna. In a similar way, as I discussed earlier, each living entity has a unique relationship with Krishna, and that in that loving relationship we can actually engage ourselves in performing bhakti yoga. Yes, what I was saying in the morning is earlier, right? This here it is. Prabhupada says that bhakti yoga is very simple, pure, and easy to perform. Right? I read it in Bhagavatam, but it's here. Yeah, bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. So how one can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna, and the Lord is all merciful. But as we have already explained, he specially inclined towards those who always serve him without deviation, right? And then Prabhupada quotes from different scriptures to emphasize this point. And even Krishna, he says in 10th chapter, Prabhupada quotes this again point that the Rami Buddhi Yogam Tam. So by which I provide them this knowledge by which they can come back to my abode. They says, and then yes, a more point Prabhupada mentions about this. The relationship what we have are of 5 types. Like generally the bhakti yoga are engaged in 5 different ways. What are those? Like Santa Bhakta. These are the mellows or rasas, we can say. Santa Dasha is basically engaging in devotional service and neutrality. and then Dasya Dash Bhakta, engaging in as a servant, then Shakya, engaging in Lord's service as a friend, and Vatsalya as a parent, and Madhurya as a conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. So these are the different way by which we associate with Lord, and we fit in one of those for sure, but we don't know which one it is as of now, right? And that's how Prabhupada again conclude this purpose, saying that this is a great blessing of Krishna conscious process of chanting the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Right. So we'll conclude here. So maybe the first half of this today's discussion was more about, middle part basically meditating on Krishna in different ways. But in text 14, Krishna explains very clearly that the one who practices Bhakti Yoga, he is accessible very easily to Krishna. Right. So anyone have any questions or thoughts, let me know. And from text 15, Krishna is going to explain more about the destination of the devotees, right? By remembering that how they can meditate on Krishna and go back to Godhead. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Very good.
माला करना है
Okay, so we'll stop here.
Hare Krishna, Vinod.
Gantra Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki